Hey, what's up, former Hans Gorilla? And that previous clip was kind of my general experience whenever I was playing the map Convoy. There's just a lot of people both on my team and the enemy team sniping. And apparently that was the spot to go to. That was the hot spot. I thought it was kind of funny that I saw 4 dudes all in the same location looking at the B flag. And right here, I have a guy to my right, so I figured he'd cover my right flank. But I had no idea that someone could come up from behind me, and that's why I died. I wasn't paying attention. This gameplay right here is the very first time I played Zoo. I didn't do any combat training or anything. I just hopped right in, and this is the first time that I played the map Zoo. But back to Convoy, that's was my general experience whenever I was playing that map. There's a lot of people sniping, and it's a good map for sniping. I just thought it was funny that many people were doing it. Even me, for a second, I had to look out and see what they were staring at. But today I thought I'd give you my very early initial impressions of the map. To be honest, I haven't had a whole lot of time with them. I didn't even get a chance to play Hotel on multiplayer. I had to real quickly run combat training just to try it out, just because it never came up in rotation. I played Stockpile once and Convoy and Zoo a couple times. And keep in mind, this is early impressions. They're definitely subject to change after I get a little bit more time playing with them. And later on this week, there's a couple of guys on the forum that are going to come on, and they're going to discuss it, and I'm going to make sure everybody has a different opinion, just so that if you're holding out on the map packs and waiting to pick them up, you can get a lot of different viewpoints to help make your decision. For me, going into it, initial impressions, I'm not too crazy about these maps. They're a lot larger than the maps. They're just generally larger than the First Strike map packs. My favorite maps, at least for Black Ops, are Firing Range, Summit, and Grid. And Firing Range, not so much, just because everybody seemed to have liked it in the beginning, so it was played out a lot. Oh, and there's going to be ports in this game where I'm going to fast forward just because it's kind of long. But I tend to lean more towards smaller size maps. Not saying that I don't like larger maps. In fact, one of my other favorite maps is WMD, but by and large, I've always normally preferred smaller maps, and every single map in this map pack feels a lot larger. It's not that I'm against larger size maps. They work great. I especially think these maps work really well for something like Capture the Flag, Search and Destroy, or Headquarters. But for Domination, especially Convoy Domination, the frequency at which I run into people on these maps is just much less. And I've always, one of the things that really draws me to playing Call of Duty is just fast-paced action. I've never really associated with this game as a true tactical shooter. I've looked at it more like an arcade on-the-rails shooter. And right here, I assumed that I could throw the grenade up there and I ended up failing. Couldn't kill that guy. But I've just always looked at it as kind of like a fast-paced arcade shooter. So I have to, I don't mind changing it up. I'm not having trouble playing on the maps. It's just the pacing's brought down a little bit because you don't run into people as often. On top of that, the color palette, or the color scheme, is still kind of that dreary grayish color. I mean, this map is just generally gray all around. What's the other one? Stockpile is kind of a white, washed out white, and Hotel is this dull brown. Convoy, actually, even though so far I like that map the least, is the brightest map. And I actually like the design, the whole retro feel it has towards it. Or I like the visual design, the retro theme that it has, the old gas station. I think it has gas prices at like 36 cents, which would be freaking awesome if that was the case today. But one thing I do commend Treyarch, even though I don't like the color scheme, is there's a lot of visual detail. So say for instance this map, even though the general theme and color for this map is kind of an off gray, Treyarch did a really good job of creating visually different areas. It doesn't all necessarily run the same, even though the colors do. I'm in this bear pen right now that is drastically different from, say, areas along the monorail. And they also put a lot of attention to detail. Say they have vines growing out of the wall, and they do a good job of making all of the buildings look old and run down, so you feel like you're in an abandoned zoo. The same can be said about Hotel. Overall, that level is kind of brown. It doesn't have a whole lot in terms of colors happening with that level. But you have a casino floor that they did a good job detailing, like the roulette tables and different prizes and things along those lines to give you a feel that you're in a casino room. And if you run around, you'll see different paintings along the walls, so it creates a sense that there's a lot of different areas. It doesn't just all run the same, even though the general colors kind of do so. In addition to attention to detail in designing the map, there's also a lot of different pathways and flanking routes you can take, both horizontally and vertically. They can be very tall maps as well, especially Zoo. There's a monorail you can use that helps you quickly move through the map, and you've got a lot of long lines of sights, and you've got a little bit of a height advantage. Although when you're on the monorail, you're left exposed, you don't have a whole lot of cover. And all the maps seem to have that same mentality and structure in mind. It's not very straightforward. There's not always one common route that everybody's going to take. There's a lot of different pathways you can take as well. So again, these maps do lean more towards, if you really are into doing a lot of tactical maneuvering and slowing the pace down a little bit, then these maps will definitely cater to that style. There's just a lot of options available to you whenever you're playing these maps. And also, they mentioned it before as well, that there's a lot of sniping. I talked about that earlier in the game. You saw that clip. There's a lot of capacity to snipe, especially on the map Convoy. I didn't play Stockpile enough. I think maybe on the right and left side you might be able to snipe a little bit. There's a lot of buildings in the center of it, but you might be able to snipe a little bit on Stockpile. And didn't try Hotel a whole lot yet, but I think there's a couple balconies you can use that have extremely long lines of sights. So if you're a big fan of sniping, that's something else to look forward to whenever you're playing these maps. So if I had to rank the maps right now from my favorite to least favorite, I'm not going to include Hotel on this list just because I haven't played it in an online setting yet, and I'm not sure how that would play out in multiplayer. So my favorite is Zoo, followed by Stockpile, and finally my least favorite is Convoy. Even though Convoy has my favorite visuals and theme to that level, I'm just not a fan of its level design. It's a little too large for my tastes. Every game of TDM that I played, it was close between the time limit and the score limit. It's just because I'd be running around for long periods of time and I wouldn't see anybody at all. And I'm kind of ADD, and I want the action to be as up-tempo as possible. So just personal preference, but that's the big reason why I'm not a fan of Convoy. At least not now. I still have to play it a little bit more. My opinions could easily change once I play it. And I've also only really played it by myself. I also need to try it out with a team and see if that changes my opinions. In addition to all of this, there was also a zombie map, Call of the Dead, and in reading the forums, at least the Call of Duty HQ, it seems to be very mixed reviews. Some people love it, and other people seem very disappointed, and I think that's because of the trailer. A lot of people were expecting more. For me, since I don't play Call of Duty for the zombies, I always look at it as a nice little add-on. I was pleased with Call of the Dead. You don't have a lot of small or areas to hole up in like you do previous maps. And also, I think it's a little harder to kite zombies around. But I liked it a lot. I liked the style. I liked the fact that they brought in different movie stars and changed it up from the traditional way of how they've been doing zombies. And also, there's a lot of little Easter eggs I like as well. Like George Romero, you guys might have seen, you can kill him with the VR11, or I think that's the name of the gun. You can also kill him with your gun. There's the way to do it, and if you do that, you get a perk bottle, and that adds to your perks. So instead of only being able to carry 4 perks, you can carry a maximum of 6. So I might show that in a zombie video later this week. But those are my initial impressions of the maps. I'm going to have a review with more Forum Boys up later this week. So let me know what you guys think in the comments, and as always, take it easy.